Hello, everyone. In today's session, we will be dealing with a new course, Linguistics and Phonetics, where I will be introducing you to linguistics. We know language is an integral part of human life, and language is an essential tool of communication, not just for human beings, but even for animals. But human language is different from that of animal language. And when we use language here, language is used in the restricted sense of human language alone. Each human language is a complex of knowledge and abilities that enable the speakers of the language to communicate with each other, to express their ideas, their emotions, their desires, and everything that needs to be expressed. And linguistics is the study of these knowledge systems in all their aspects. Linguists are concerned with a series of questions about the nature of language, how such a knowledge system is structured, how it is acquired, how it is used in the production and comprehension of messages, how does language change over time, what are the properties of human language, what are the properties human languages have in common, how do languages differ, and what to extent are the differences systematic. Can we find any patterns in these differences? How do children acquire such complete knowledge of a language in such a short time? What are the ways in which languages can change over time? Are there any limitations to how language change? What are the mental processes that are involved in the production and comprehension of language? So linguistics is the study of this language system, or we can say linguistics is the scientific study of language, how it is put together and how it functions. It studies the structure and the evolution of language. And the very aim of linguistics is to understand the nature of language. Just like various building blocks of different sizes or shapes are put together to construct a building, various elements are put together in the construction of a language. We have sounds, words, meanings. So, linguistics, or we can say language, is a phenomena with many layers, from the sounds the speakers produce to the meanings that those sounds express. And the very field of linguistics is comprised of several subfields. And the major subfields or the major branches of linguistics are phonetics, phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. Remember, these are the various subfields or the various layers of linguistics: phonetics, phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, pragmatics. I hope you're familiar with some of the terms here. First one is that of phonetics. Phonetics, of course, we are familiar with this. It is that aspect of linguistics that deals with the study of speech sounds. It deals with the production, transmission, and reception of speech sounds. And we have articulatory phonetics, acoustic phonetics, auditory phonetics. I hope you're familiar with this particular aspect of linguistics. That is phonetics, which is the study of speech sounds. How sounds are produced, how sounds are transmitted, and how sounds are received. All right. The second one is phonology. Phonology can be defined as the study of the sound systems, the language sound systems. That is phonology. Because each language has its own phonological system. For example, English RP has 44 sounds, whereas the standard Malayalam has 52 sounds. So each language has its own system, its own phonological system. Certain characteristic features of the speech sounds which differs it from the other. So, phonology deals with this sound system, with the distinctive sounds, the specific patterning of sound, the functional behaviors, the combinatory possibilities of sounds, the syllabic structures. That is what phonology is all about. For example, as native speakers of Malayalam, we have difficulty in articulating certain sounds of English RP, especially the diphthongs and certain vowel sounds. We have difficulty. That is because of the sound system. And again, there are certain functional behaviors as far as English sounds are concerned. The certain are voiced, certain are voiceless, certain sounds are articulated with aspiration, some are unaspirated, some syllables are stressed, some are unstressed. Again, certain combinatory possibilities, like when one particular sound is combined with another sound, one remains silent. So, which are the sounds that can actually come together, which cannot come together? So, such properties, specific patterning, the functional behaviors of sounds are studied under phonology. So, phonology is the study of language system. All right. Now, the third one is morphology. Morphology is the study of word structure. In simple terms, it is a study of word structure. The structures of words are studied in this particular aspect of linguistics called morphology. Okay, because words are, words have their own internal structure. How words are formed. Words are arranged in particular ways to form phrases and sentences. So there is this word order in sentences. So this word structure is something that is studied in morphology, or there is also another term, morphemics. How these words are put together, organized together. All right. So that is morphology. Remember, we will learn more about morphology in the coming classes. We'll learn it in a very detailed manner. Now just keep this in your mind that morphology is the study of word structure. All right. Now, next one is syntax. Syntax is the study of how linguistic units larger than the words are constructed. We know phonemes and how words are actually organized in such a way to form higher units like phrases and sentences. These principles, these rules governing the arrangement of words into higher units, or how words are arranged in a particular order to form sentences, that is syntax. Okay, so syntax is the structure of phrases and sentences in terms of words. Okay, so syntax again addresses questions like how can the number of sentences that speakers can create be infinite, even though the number of words in any language is finite. We have only limited number of words in all languages. But imagine the number of sentences that we can produce using these limited number of words. Certain sentences remain ambiguous. For example, a sentence like flying planes can be dangerous, or visiting relatives can be boring. These are ambiguous sentences. Okay, some sentences, even if you arrange certain sentences in the proper subject verb order in English, some sentences remain meaningless. For example, there is a very famous sentence by Chomsky. This is the sentence: colorless green ideas sleep furiously. Colorless green ideas sleep furiously. This sentence is grammatically correct, or it is in the proper syntax. Words are arranged according to the subject, verb, object form. But this is a meaningless sentence. Okay, so these are things that are studied under this particular linguistic aspect known as syntax. It is a study of how linguistic units larger than the words are constructed, or the rules and the principles governing the arrangement of words into sentences. That is syntax. All right. Now, after syntax, we have semantics. Semantics is the study of meaning. So, we have before us sounds, we have the sound system, we have words, we have sentences, and now how all these result in the production of meaning. So, semantics is the study of meaning. How do speakers know what one particular word means, or when do we use metaphors? Why do we use only certain words as metaphors? Okay, so how many meanings can be found in one particular sentence? So such aspects of meaning is actually studied under semantics. All right, so we have phonetics, phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and finally we have pragmatics, which is the study of language in communication. Pragmatics is a study of language in communication. So remember, these are the important subfields of linguistics, or these are some of the linguistic aspects: phonology, phonetics, morphology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. So the main goal of linguistics is to increase our knowledge and understanding of the world, because we know language is universal. Language is fundamental to all human interactions. And this knowledge that is gained through language, or the knowledge that is attained in linguistics, it has many practical applications. So linguists, what they do is they actually apply many aspects of linguistics in various disciplines, and they try to find answers for many questions regarding language, like how foreign languages are taught, how they are learned, how language can be used in computer program, how language can be associated with speech abnormalities, how the behavioral pattern of a person can be connected with his language, how language is connected to one society. So all these aspects of linguistics are actually studied under various branches of linguistics, and we have thus before us different branches of linguistics like sociolinguistics, psycholinguistics, applied linguistics, computational linguistics, stylistics, historical linguistics, and comparative linguistics. These are some of the important branches of linguistics. All right. So first we'll look into sociolinguistics. Sociolinguistics actually studies how language is used in society, or it studies the relationship between language and society. It highlights the reason for speaking differently in different situations. We know we have many dialects for the same languages, and again, certain words are considered as slang. So, how do we use these different varieties according to different situations? How come certain dialects become more prestigious, more accepted than the others? And what happens when people speaking different languages come together? So, such aspects of language with relation to society is studied under this branch called sociolinguistics. So, remember, it is a study of relationship between language and society. How is language used to convey social meaning? How is language used in society? What makes certain dialects prestigious than others? How slangs occur? What happens when two languages come together in bilingual communities? All these aspects come under this particular branch called sociolinguistics. Hope it is clear. Now let's move on to the second one, that is applied linguistics. As the term indicates, this is all about how do we apply our knowledge of linguistics in various fields like psychology or anthropology. That is something studied under applied linguistics. Study of the practical applications of language studies. How was language acquired? How was language learned? How it is used? How it identifies, investigates, and it offers solutions to language related problems. How effectively can we use this in other fields, in other areas? Okay, so that is applied linguistics. Application of linguistics in various fields. Then we have computational linguistics. Computational linguistics, in simple terms, is the application of computer science to the analysis, synthesis, and comprehension of written and spoken language. How do we use computer science in the analysis, synthesis, and comprehension of written and spoken language? That is computational linguistics. Okay, how could syntactic structures be computed from spoken language? How are semantic relations recognized? And how could these computational skills be acquired? And many different studies are there under this particular branch of linguistics. How languages change, or what are the changes that happen to the written form of language when we started using something like Microsoft Word, or when we started using all these applications in computer, in our mobile, in all these electronic gadgets. So everything comes under computational linguistics. Then we have psycholinguistics. And psycholinguistics, and together with psycho and neurolinguistics, they come under cognitive linguistics. Psycholinguistics and neurolinguistics are part of cognitive linguistics. Cognitive, we know cognitive is the mental, it is related to our mind. So these two branches of linguistics, psycholinguistics and neurolinguistics, they come under the common heading cognitive linguistics. And again, this is very simple. Psycholinguistics, it studies how language is processed in the mind. How language is processed in the mind. It addresses questions like how can we listen to a series of noise and make sense out of it. How children can learn to speak and understand the language of their environment very quickly and effortlessly. How people with pathological issue, language problems, how they use a different kind of language from that of the normal language. Or how language is related to one's mental state, one's physical state. All these are studied under psycholinguistics. Okay, the relationship between mind and language. How language is processed in the mind. You are listening to one particular sound and you know what does that mean. That is psycholinguistics. Alright. Then related to psycholinguistics, we have neurolinguistics. Neurolinguistics studies how language is encoded, how language is stored in our brain. It addresses questions like which part of the brain, in which part of the brain this part of language is stored. Okay, so how language is stored, how language is processed in the brain. Again, how brain compensates when certain areas are damaged. This is very, very important. These two aspects, the cognitive linguistics with psycholinguistics and neurolinguistics, are very much important. And these two methods are actually used by psychologists to cure mental illnesses and all. Especially neurolinguistics is a very important area of research, where much research is done by language people as well as medical professionals. Neurolinguistics and how it is related to a person's behavior, a person's mental state. Alright, so remember, psycholinguistics is a study of how language is processed in the mind. Neurolinguistics is how language is encoded in the brain. Alright, so I think I have covered almost all the different branches. Oh, sorry, one is there, that is historical linguistics. Historical linguistics, of course, as the term indicates, it studies how languages change over time. Language, we know it is always, it keeps on changing. Language is never static. The kind of language that was used in Old English, used during the Middle English, Modern English, it's all different. So, this particular part of linguistics actually deals with such questions like why modern English is different from Old English or Middle English. Or why is English, why do we say that English is a language that is more closely related to German? We know the family, hope you remember the history of English language where you learn family of languages, where we know that English is more related to German. So historical linguistics actually studies how languages change over time, and there are different aspects to this, like how language change with time, how language changes across time. There are two different studies. We will again discuss this, the two different areas, synchronic and diachronic. Synchronic is studying language with time. Diachronic, studying language across time. How language used in the Elizabethan era is different from that of language used in the Victorian era. That is studying language across time from one particular period to the other. Diachronic. Or if you are just learning the English used by Shakespeare, that is one particular period alone, that becomes synchronic. Okay, so historical linguistics is the study of language, how language or languages change over time. That is historical linguistics. I hope this particular part is clear. So once again, let me explain that to you, dears. We have learned what is known as linguistics. Linguistics is the study of language. Okay, and these are some of the different important aspects of linguistics: phonetics, phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. And then various branches of linguistics like social linguistics, psycholinguistics, applied linguistics, computational linguistics, comparative linguistics, historical, stylistics, neurolinguistics, and all. All right. Now, I think this is enough for an introduction to this new topic called linguistics. And along with this, I would also like to introduce you to a few concepts that are related to sociolinguistics. Okay, these are very simple terms. You should have an idea about these terms because they're important as far as the coming classes are concerned. So the first term that we are going to learn is that of bilingualism, or what is known as multilingualism. Bilingualism or multilingualism. We are familiar with such terms, but we need to know exactly what they mean. See, when people belonging to different cultural and linguistic backgrounds live together in the same geographical area, their frequent interactions result in the creation of bilingual or multilingual societies. When people belonging to different cultural and linguistic backgrounds, if a person from Tamil Nadu has come to Kerala, or a person from Kerala has gone to Tamil Nadu and living in the same geographical area, they need to communicate. So there comes the existence of two languages, one English and one Tamil. So this actually creates this frequent interaction between two linguistic communities, create bilingual or multilingual communities, and such people who can speak two languages are known as bilingual, more than two are known as multilingual. Okay, in some communities, some people are able to communicate in more than one language, one in their mother tongue. At the same time, they will have proficiency in the language used in that particular area. Okay, so this is bilingualism or multilingualism. I think in Kerala is a multilingual society because, or even bilingual. Most of the people are familiar with one language, that is a mother tongue. And the second language that most people are familiar is English, which they use in their workplace. And of course, if they have been to some other states in India, there are many people who know Tamil, many people who know Kannada, or many are very fluent in our national language, Hindi. So this is bilingualism or multilingualism, communicating in more than one language. The proficiency that you have in languages other than your mother tongue makes you a bilingual or a multilingual. Then after this comes another concept called diglossia. Diglossia, it actually refers to a situation where a speech community uses two different varieties of the same language. This is something that I discussed while talking about socio-linguistics. So we all know different varieties of a language. Even for a mother tongue Malayalam, there is a low variety, there is a high variety. And we know when to use this high variety, when to use this low variety. When you are at your workplace, when you are talking to people at your workplace, you use this high variety of Malayalam or high variety of English. But when you are talking to your friends, talking to your family, you use this low variety. So diglossia is that situation. Remember, diglossia is that situation where speech community uses two varieties of a language for two different functions, a low variety and a high variety. And high variety, as I said, is normally used in formal situations. High variety is something that we see in news channels, in lectures, in work, in places of worship, in churches or mosques. When people talk, they use this high variety of one language. And low variety is normally used in informal conversation. And high variety is normally considered as superior to low variety. And high variety is something that people learn, and low variety is something that people acquire. Hope it is clear. There is language acquisition and language learning. Our mother tongue is something that we have acquired, and the second language that you know is something that you have learned. That is the difference. നമ്മുടെ മാതൃഭാഷ നമ്മൾ നേടിയെടുക്കുകയാണ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്, നമ്മളത് പഠിക്കുകയല്ല ചെയ്യണത്. First, we are exposed to the language, like the spoken part and the listening. Listening and speaking are the two skills that we learn when we learn our mother tongue. നമ്മൾ നേടിയെടുക്കുകയാണ് ചെയ്യണത്. English or Hindi or let it be any other language which is not your mother tongue, you learn. We are first introduced to the spoken written form of these languages, and then we learn the speaking and learning skills associated with, and that is why learning these languages become difficult, because language is something that should be acquired and not learned. Okay, so remember, diglossia is a situation where a high variety and low variety of the same language coexists. All right, so hope it is clear. ഇതിൽ നമ്മളെപ്പോഴും ഹൈ വെറൈറ്റി സുപ്പീരിയർ ആയിട്ട് കാണാറുണ്ട്. ഹൈ വെറൈറ്റി നമ്മൾ പഠിച്ചെടുക്കുകയാണ് ചെയ്യണത്. See, if you're reading, if you're a news reader in a television channel or in All India Radio, you won't use the colloquial words, colloquial tone, because we know it's not appropriate. So we kind of acquire the high variety. So we learn the high variety, and low variety is something that we have acquired. ഹൈ വെറൈറ്റിയാണ് നമ്മൾ പഠിച്ചെടുക്കുന്നത്. ആ ഒരു ഗ്രൂപ്പിൻ്റെ ഇടയിൽ, മേ ബി അത് വർക്ക് പ്ലേസ് ആയിക്കോട്ടെ, നമുക്ക് ആക്സെപ്റ്റൻസ് കിട്ടണമെങ്കിൽ വി ഹാവ് ടു യൂസ് ദ ഹൈ വെറൈറ്റി. Then moving on to another important thing, that is chord mixing or chord switching. See, bilingualism is now familiar to us. Bilingual people, they actually switch from one language to the other during their conversation, and this process is called chord mixing or chord switching. And we are all people who use this chord switching or chord mixing in our conversation. Sometimes it is going to be just a word. People, they switch from one language to the other, mixing English words with mother tongue, which is an instance of chord mixing. And sometimes whole sentences are there in English. That is chord switching. In chord mixing, it is just going to be words. In chord mixing, it is just going to be words. In chord switching, it is sentences. Whole sentence might be in another language. So generally, chord mixing or chord switching refers to switching from one language to the other during conversation. See, look at this. All these, YouTube, uh, what do we say, YouTube vloggers, they use is chord mixing or chord switching, or the VJs or the anchors that we are familiar in our television channels, or the RJs, they all are, you know, the kind of speech they give are all instances or examples of chord mixing or chord switching. And this is another one, it is Pidgin and Creole. See, when people belonging to two different communities, they come together for trade purpose, they don't have a common language to communicate. So what happens is eventually they evolve a new language which would be a combination of their native tongues. That is known as Pidgin. So Pidgin is formed when two communities who do not share a common language come in contact and they try to communicate for trading or other purposes that result in Pidgin. All right, രണ്ട് ഭാഷ കോമൺ ആയിട്ടില്ലാത്ത രണ്ട് സമൂഹം ഒരുമിച്ച് വരുമ്പോൾ അവർ രണ്ട് ഭാഷയും കൂടെ ചേർന്നുകൊണ്ടൊരു പുതിയ ഭാഷ ഉണ്ടാവുകയും അത് അവർ ഉപയോഗിക്കുകയും ചെയ്യും. ആൻഡ് അതിനെയാണ് നമ്മൾ പിജിൻ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. ഓൾ റൈറ്റ്, ആൻഡ് പിജിൻ്റെ പ്രത്യേകത എന്താണെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ പിജിന് നേറ്റീവ് സ്പീക്കേഴ്സ് ഉണ്ടാകില്ല. Pidgin, during the colonial time, there was something called Pidgin English. Pidgin English of Bombay. There was Butler English of Madras. This Butler English of Madras and Pidgin English of Bombay are examples of Pidgin. That is the Pidgin English spoken between the natives and the British people. See how two people belonging to two different communities, speech communities, they created a common language out of their native tongues. That is Pidgin. Okay, and Pidgin the pratyekatha enchal Pidgin native speakers illa, allengi Pidgin is not the mother tongue of any individual. Pidgin is something that is created, right? But when this Pidgin becomes the mother tongue of a speech community, because the children of the Pidgin speakers, when they are born, they listen to this Pidgin and the Pidgin becomes their mother tongue. So when Pidgin acquires the status of the mother tongue of a community, or when Pidgin develops into the mother tongue of a community, it is known as Creole. And the first native speakers of Creoles are the children of Pidgin speakers. Pidgin സ്പീക്കേഴ്സിൻ്റെ മക്കളായിരിക്കും ക്രിയോളിൻ്റെ ആദ്യത്തെ നേറ്റീവ് സ്പീക്കേഴ്സ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. ആൻഡ് ദിസ് ആക്ച്വലി ഡെവലപ്സ് ഇൻ ടു എ ഫോർമൽ ലാംഗ്വേജ്. Pidgin cannot be called as a formal language. Pidgin does not have a language system, but when it becomes Creole, it has a language system. It becomes a proper language with all its complexities, functionally and formally. Hope this is clear. And Goanese, there is something, a language, this is a Creole language, Goanese. Goanese is actually the Creole Portuguese of Goa. Creole Portuguese of Goa, which is now extinct. That is an example of Goanese. And again, there is Black English. Black English was the language spoken by the uneducated urban regions and low-class whites of the southern states of US. Black English is an example of Creole. Okay, so Pidgin and Creole are very important, and you should also know the difference between Pidgin and Creole. Pidgin has no native speaker. It has no language or language system. It has no identification. It is totally unstable. Whereas Creole has native speakers. Creole becomes the first language of a group of people. It has got the complex structure of a language. It has its own identification, and it is a stable language. So remember, don't forget the difference between Pidgin and Creole. Pidgin vocabulary limited ആണ്, grammatical structure limited ആണ്, അതിൻ്റെ functionsഉം വളരെ limited ആണ്. അതുകൂടെ ഓർത്തേക്കുക. Pidgin has limited vocabulary, reduced grammatical structure and limited range of functions. Okay, I hope it is clear. അപ്പോൾ ഈ ലാസ്റ്റ് പഠിച്ച ടേംസ് ഒന്ന് ഓർത്തേക്കുക. Bilingualism, multilingualism. There is a spelling error with multilingualism. It is LISM. diglossia, chord mixing or chord switching, and Pidgin and Creole. So if you want, you can take down notes with the help of this PowerPoint and make sure that you understand each concept thoroughly, because this is very, very important in learning the other concepts in linguistics. So that's all, dears. Thank you. Thank you so much. If you have any doubts, if you need any clarifications regarding this, kindly let me know. After listening to the video, please do post your name in the comment box. All right. Thank you.